Oh, legend.
Legend.
Look amazing.
That stuff. Yes, I love you.
Dan,
Even
something's up with your audio a little bit, but you do have your
My
mic on.
audio?
Okay. We'll work on it. We'll get it. Don't worry. I'll start with Doug. Doug, tell me this. Was Carolina better going after Lamar, better off rather, than trading up to get the #1 pick?
They made the right move. Now, I know they gave up the first pick, but I know the world and Stevie A, I know you're all trying to find a place where Lamar can go and pay him $50 million to boot. Come on. If you're giving up 2 first-round picks and you're paying him $200 million guaranteed, if you make the trade with the Bears, you get the first pick, you can take the quarterback who you want, and you don't got to pay him a ton of money. So you can build your team around the quarterback properly, because the first-year quarterback is going to make, what, $10 million? So you're not paying him $50 million. So as a result, you don't kill your salary cap. Plus, your fan base can build themselves and get associated with a young quarterback. Now, you got to get it right. You got to pick the right one, and I think I would take Young, but that's neither here nor there. Either Stroud or him. You got to pick the right one. But Stephen A. and everybody we got to get Howard's a joke. So he hasn't found a team. He's this good. How in the world did the Ravens put this tag on him? Oh, come on, enough about Lamar Jackson. My goodness gracious. I mean, if there's no teams for him to go to right now. He has to realize there's huge compensation for 2 first-round picks, and you got to pay him $50 million. I mean, my gosh, the young quarterback, you don't pay him that much money. And Stephen A. now is going to go wax poetic about how he's the best quarterback. We know he's good. But if you're Carolina and you can get the kid Stroud and pay him $7 or $8 million for this first 4 years of his contract and only give up the first-round pick this year, not next year, you're building yourself a good team. Carolina made the right call.
Well, first of all, a couple of things before we let Dan Orlovsky in here. First of all, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop trying to tell the audience what somebody else is going to say. Focus on your take. You think you're slick. You understand what I'm saying? It's a debate tactic that you use. It's not going to work. Oh, Stevie, he's going to say this and he's going to say that. I mean, come on. No, we're not going for that, okay? I will speak for me, okay? You don't do that. You focus on your take. That's number one. Number two, let me just throw out a few names for you, okay? Johnny Manziel. Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, people like that. In a couple of years ago with Zach Wilson as the #2 pick, how's that working out? It's a crapshoot. When you think about the Carolina Panthers, of course I'm going to say that if they could have gotten Lamar, they should have. If I'm going to give up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a player, what I'm getting in return, I don't want to be a guess. I want to know. And we know what Lamar Jackson brings to the table. Now, I didn't want him in Carolina anyway. I don't think that's the ideal situation for him. I'd much rather see Lamar Jackson in some place like Miami or some place like with the New York Jets. That would have been better. But the bottom line is that we're talking about whether or not the Carolina Panthers should have done what they did. I'm saying you give up 2 first-round picks, you give up 2 second-round picks, plus a player, all right, for the #1 overall pick that you got from Chicago. It better work. C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young or, Anthony Richardson, it better work. You don't have the luxury of missing on this. Not with what you gave up to get the #1 overall pick. Lamar Jackson is 45-16 as a starter. Now, Dan Orlovsky, the doggy that I know, the doggy that I love, the doggy that I've been listening to since I was in college, that dude, Mad Dog Russo, he was a dude that was about resumes. He was a dude that was about credentials. He was a dude that wasn't about guessing, wasn't about speculating, wasn't about projecting. He was about, what do you have here? I mean, forget that guy. I mean, you don't know what he's going to do. You know what this guy is going to do. You got to take a sure bet. You're going to give up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a player. I mean, that's what you got to do. I don't understand it. It's crazy. That's the doggy I know. But he gets on First Take. You understand? And suddenly, we got a whole different narrative bloviating out of his mouth. Go figure, Orlovsky. Go figure.
That's a tremendous impersonation of Mad Dog, by the way, Stephen A. Beautiful job.
Absolutely.
All right. So, first of all, Carolina was never going to be capable of getting Lamar Jackson. Right. We've all talked about this conversation so one-sided. Part of the conversation is, even if it was remotely possible to get him, who plays quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens? Carolina sitting at the 9th spot. That was never going to be a pick high enough for Baltimore to take one of the 4 kids or the big 4 in this draft. So that's part of the conversation here too. Baltimore to take them. So who's replacing Lamar in this equation for the Baltimore Ravens? Second of all is this. You could point to San Francisco from 2 or 3 years ago, giving all they gave up to get Trey Lance. I absolutely think, that being said, I think Carolina made the smart choice here. One, I think there's 2 kids in this draft that got the chance and a pretty good chance to be really, really, really good players. C.J. Stroud, who's got his pro day today. It's going to be as good a pro day as we've ever seen thrown a football. I can guarantee that. And Bryce Young. I think there's a kid that's got a chance to be incredibly special if all the ducks fall in the right line, so to speak, and that's Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson's got top 3 player talent in the league at that position. The reality is this for Carolina. They got a really good roster. A roster that doesn't have a ton of flaws and or holes right now. They have a 4-year window after they take their quarterback at number 1 to slowly rebuild that roster and allow that young player to develop. And that's a championship window because of some of the pieces that they have on their football team. If we go to last year's playoffs, in the AFC, 7 teams made it. 5 of the 7 teams were on rookie quarterback deals. The only 2 teams that weren't were Kansas City and Buffalo. We believe that they've got special quarterbacks. By the way, both those teams were playoff teams before they traded up to go get those quarterbacks. In the NFC, 3 of the 7 were on rookie quarterback deals, and 2 of the 7 were on like mid-tier quarterback deal. Pretty closer to a rookie deal than a massive quarterback deal that we see in some of the teams. So for Carolina, who sits there and goes, well, we got a good roster. Do we want to go trade for Lamar? Baltimore's not going to accept our trade because our pick isn't high enough.
There's no disagreement there, and I appreciate that breakdown. And by the way, when I brought up Johnny Manziel, I don't want anybody thinking that I think he was taken first overall. We know better than that.
Sure.
But the David Carrs of the world were taken number 1. The Tim Couches of the world was taken number 1 over Donovan McNabb at number 2. What I'm saying is it's no surefire bet that the number 1 overall pick at the quarterback position is going to work. And so even though you're absolutely right with your breakdown and we understand that wasn't going to happen, Orlovsky, the flip side to it, what I'm saying is if you are the Carolina Panthers, okay, it's one thing to say they shouldn't have pursued Lamar Jackson. That's just breaking down facts of what was going to happen. What I'm saying to Doggy is don't act like, oh, my goodness, getting Lamar Jackson would have been worse than getting the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I'm messed up with what Doggy thinks of Lamar. I don't get that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm attacking. I'm attacking this notion that it's better to get the number 1 overall pick than it would be to get Lamar Jackson. That's all I'm saying. That's something wrong with you.
Guys, you got to stop putting Lamar Jackson on his Pat Mahomes level. He has won 1 playoff game.
Nobody put him on that level.
He has not been able to finish seasons the last 2 years. I mean, you guys got Lamar Jackson on this incredible level. He's not as good as Aaron Rodgers, okay? I know he's done great things. He's not as good as he's not as good as the top 3 or 4 guys in the league.
Okay, so let me say this, Mad Dog. First of all, to the Carolina equation, I also think that the part of an aspect of this conversation that isn't brought up enough about Carolina in relation to Lamar is Carolina's going to have to pay Brian Burns. They're going to have to pay J.C. Horn. They're going to have to pay Jeremy, some of their young talent. So you need to leave a window in money for all those other players that help your roster as well. Here's my pushback, Mad Dog, when it comes to Lamar. I don't think anyone, at least right now, is putting Lamar on Patrick's level. But God bless, I've seen him come close. I've seen him go toe-to-toe with Patrick and put on shows.
Now,
maybe not last year.
In the playoffs, you've seen it? In the playoffs,
Mad Dog.
Yeah, he has played poorly in the playoffs. Played terribly in Buffalo.
The only time he played poorly in the playoffs was his rookie year.
How about
Chargers.
How about the Tennessee game? The Tennessee game at home when he was the MVP in the league.
And
the team got destroyed. He played 7. Oh, stop. He did not play well in the game.
First of all, Tennessee went up 14-0 6 minutes into the game. When that year happened, 1, Baltimore wasn't built to play that way. 2, Tennessee was.
All right, I'll ask you this way. What's his quarterback rating in the 4 playoff games?
Probably QBR, probably somewhere around 70.
All right, and that's not good. What is his quarterback rating in the regular season?
90 plus?
Okay, so you got a huge drop-off from regular season to postseason. We're going to ignore that?
Mad Dog,
And he's 1-3. We're going to ignore that?
one of those seasons was a rookie year against the Chargers where he played bad in the first. That has their context of the story matters. Not every quarterback plays great the first time they're there. When they lost against Tennessee, Lamar played good football. He was let down by his team. Unequivocally, an accurate statement. I'll give you the fact that he did not play great on the road against Buffalo 2 years ago. I'll 100% give you that. And Lamar would as well. But to sit here and say, here's the reality. If you have Lamar Jackson and a good football team, can you win the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that style can win. I'm not sure if you can give him, because he wants to run. He hasn't shown he can win yet, Dan.
Did you watch the Super Bowl last year?
Dan, he hasn't gotten through the regular season.
Did you watch
got to get through the regular season.
Did you?
You got to play 20 games.
Did you watch the Super Bowl last year? Did you watch the Super Bowl last year?
Yeah, Hurts played great. Hurts played great.
Do they not have a relatively similar
with his kids
style?
and his hair all over the place. Yes,
He
he
played
was
great.
watching.
I loved him.
Do they have a relatively similar style?
Relatively.
So if not for a controversial flag, we might not be able to make that accurate statement that you're not sure that style can win.
I'm basing it on what I have seen in the huge game with Lamar. He hasn't been great. Call it like we see it. He hasn't been great. Now, hold on now, Danny. Before you rub your eyes, you didn't have Montana in the top 5 all-time in the history of quarterbacks. Is that correct?
That is true.
That's accurate.
That is true, Orlovsky.
So I'm going to sit there now. You're going to sit there and break down Lamar for me, and you didn't have Montana in the top 5 all the time?
Ooh.
I don't know how to rebuttal that one. I'm not happy about that coming from you, Mad Dog.
All right.
That's a fair one.
You can take a pause.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.